It has been a very exciting week for space news, let me tell you. Starship was fully stacked on the orbital launch mount, SpaceX launched NASA's PACE mission, and it looks like Blue Origin's New Glenn is about to go vertical. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. The crew of Axiom 3 returns to Earth after an unexpectedly extended stay aboard the ISS. NASA's Lucy mission performed its largest engine burn of its 12-year mission, and the Juno spacecraft made its second close flyby of Jupiter's moon Io. All of this and much, much more. Let's begin with Starship updates. The biggest Starship story of the week began on Thursday. Flight 3's Super Heavy Booster 10 was rolled out through the doorway of the Mega Bay. You can see in this footage from Lab Padre that its grid fins were temporarily set at an angle as it passed through the opening, before then being reset back to their horizontal positions. Following this, Booster 10 made what will hopefully be its final trip to the launch pad before it takes flight. As it arrived at the site, the launch tower's chopsticks were repositioned ready for a booster lift, and the ship quick disconnect arm was swung out of the way. The jaws of the chopsticks eventually closed around the booster as night fell, ready for a booster lift. NASA Spaceflight got a great view of the lift, with the booster illuminated by spotlight. It was placed into the launch mount and released by the chopsticks. If mounting of the Super Heavy for Flight 3 wasn't exciting enough, things started looking like a full stack was imminent, as Ship 28 was lifted onto a transport stand in the rocket garden, and it then made its way down to the launch pad, where Starship Gazer was at the scene, capturing the lifting of the Starship over the course of several hours, after which it was stacked onto Booster 10, hopefully for one of the last times before launch. Remember, there will need to be at least one more D-stack before flight, given that both vehicles will need to have their flight termination systems installed. I am cancelling my render, because it looks like the ships have been D-stacked. From the looks of things, they didn't fit together properly, and now there are several people kind of on top of the hot staging ring checking things out. So I guess this was a fit test. Yes, I would like to cancel the upload, thank you. This was a fit test, but the ships didn't really fit together properly. This has literally like just happened, so we don't really know much more. So that's this amazing bit that I'm now gonna add to somewhere. Maybe like here. Don't know yet. We're still not clear on when launch will happen. For starters, the main hurdle SpaceX need to overcome right now is completing their investigation with the FAA into the launch mishap of Orbital Flight Test 2, before the case can be closed and launch license modified for Flight Test 3 and then approved. SpaceX are leading the investigation, but the latest news we have from the FAA is that they are still yet to submit all the required information for launch license issuance. It's likely that SpaceX are just not willing to rush things through, while they continue working on Stage 0 and the propellant farm. Speaking of the propellant farm though, it looks like work on this may be coming to a head. Lab Padre captured this footage of a cargo ship carrying the 9th and final cryogenic storage tank arriving at the port of Brownsville, where upon arrival it'll be transported down to Starbase. This ended up happening on Wednesday, with arrival to the launch site via truck. Over the next few hours, it was offloaded onto a SpaceX self-propelled modular transporter and subsequently maneuvered into place. Other ongoing works at the launch pad and Stage 0 include the continued installation of shielding to the base of the tower, continued work on the new concrete walls by the launch pad, and further installation of more vertical steel reinforcement beams for the vertical storage tanks. The second launch tower for Starbase continues to grow. Over the week, we saw 3 vertical columns for one of the tower segments raised up, and then workers set about installing the horizontal beams to connect them all together. Not long after this, we then saw a 4th tower column lifted into place. Speaking of steel structures coming together, take a look at the progress with Star Factory. It's certainly growing at a very rapid pace. SpaceX's Falcon 9 had another busy week of launches. On Saturday, we were treated to a daytime launch of the rocket. It seems that lately these things have been launching a lot at night, so it's always great having a full daylight view. The Falcon 9 carried 22 Starlink V2 mini satellites to low Earth orbit from the Vandenberg Space Force base, and following stage separation, the first stage booster landed on the Of Course I Still Love You drone ship in the Pacific Ocean, wrapping up its 14th overall flight. SpaceX later announced that with each launch of their second-generation Starlink satellites, they add approximately 2 terabytes per second to Starlink's overall capacity, improving coverage and connecting more people from all around the world with high-speed internet. One of those people, ironically, turns out to be Jeff Bezos, founder of Blue Origin and hoping to get his own version of SpaceX's Starlink internet constellation up and running. Reddit user Turbine Lust spotted his yacht sporting some very recognizable Starlink receivers. Can't say I blame the guy though. Starlink is the best choice for maritime internet in most cases, but yeah, still kind of ironic. Starlink wasn't the only SpaceX Falcon mission we saw last week. SpaceX also supported NASA's Plankton Aerosol Cloud Ocean Ecosystem mission, or just PACE, launching the satellite last Thursday from Launch Complex 40 at the Kennedy Space Center. This was this particular Falcon 9 booster's 4th flight overall, and following stage separation, it successfully landed at Landing Zone 1 at the Cape. The second stage continued on to carry the satellite to sun-synchronous orbit. PACE will help scientists to further our understanding